Hey guys, my wife and I went to see The Last Jedi last night. We both loved it, and I loved it so much that I wanted to make a movie review, but I don't have time to make a proper YouTube-style movie review or even a blog post, so I'm going to do this kind of podcast thing where I just talk into a mic about why I love the movie, and that'll work the creative demon out of my system, and then I'll be done with it, and I can get back to proper work. Okay, Star Wars The Last Jedi. I should say first that I am not a super diehard Star Wars fan. I love Star Wars, but I don't own any memorabilia. I've never read a Star Wars book. I wasn't heartbroken when the expanded universe was deemed non-canonical. I just like Star Wars because the movies are cool. All right, so that's the angle that I'm coming at this from. I should also say that I loved this movie. I loved this movie so hyperbolically. Is that the right word? That I'm usually really excitable about movies after I see them, but I'm gonna fall into that trap again. I think this was the best fantasy movie I've ever seen. Why? All right. There were two main reasons that I really love this movie. One, I thought the themes were amazing. I thought this was a perfect script, just about. And the things that they did with the script, the questions that they posed, and the ways that they answered those questions were just right on the mark. They were so perfect. And then the second thing was style. I don't know anything about filmmaking, but to me, watching this movie, I just saw so many things in The Last Jedi that deeply affected me because they were shots, or they were colors, or they were hints from other things that I had seen and loved. And I guess this is how people make movies. They take things that they love from other movies they've studied and they put it in the thing that they're making. That's how influence works. But this movie, more than anything, I just saw that. So anyways, I want to talk a little bit about themes, and I want to talk a little bit about style. Let's get to it. Okay, so what is the theme of this movie? I didn't know what the theme was going in. It doesn't say so, on your movie ticket whenever you're walking in. You have to go digging for this, especially since it's a new movie. The reactions to this movie that I was seeing on Facebook and around the internet, the good reactions and the bad reactions were all about this sense of confounded expectations. And I think that's key to figuring out what the theme of this movie is. And so let's go over some of these confounded expectations from the movie. First one, my favorite one, is the 2-year cliffhanger of Rey trying to hand Luke Skywalker his lightsaber on the island. That was such a dramatic ending to The Force Awakens. And, spoiler alert, are you ready? Because I'm going to spoil it. You shouldn't be watching this video if you haven't seen The Last Jedi yet. Here we go. Luke takes the lightsaber, looks at it like it's a stick, and then tosses it behind him off a cliff. It was the best, sense of deflation that I've ever seen from a cliffhanger. It was amazing. I loved it. And I totally understand why some people would not love it at all. But I laughed out loud in the theater. It was amazing. Okay, so that's one. There's a bunch more I've got here. So Finn and Rose are sent to the casino planet to find a code breaker to help them with the main plot line of the Resistance in the movie, escaping from the New Order. They don't find the code breaker, and they're meant to, right? They're sent on a mission to find this code breaker, and they don't find the guy. They're almost there, and they miss him. And, when I was watching the movie, I was expecting, okay, they're gonna, be on a little side plot now where they have to work their way back to this guy. But no, they just, he's not important to the plot at all. They find a different code breaker, and they go with him, and that ends up being super important to the conclusion of the movie. That's another one. Another confounded expectation. Kylo Ren kills Emperor Snoke. Snoke? I always write Snook, but actually I think it's Snoke. Kylo Ren kills Emperor Snoke. That certainly confounded the expectations of the Emperor, who is quite dead, and also the audience, because one of the big questions after The Force Awakens was, who is Emperor Snoke? What's his backstory? What's his connection? How powerful is he? And so on. And this movie is like, no, you don't. It's not important. You know, he's an emperor. You know about emperors. They can do lightning. They're very bad, quite ugly. You know, we don't need them. Goodbye, Snoke. Finn surprises his old boss. God, I always forget her name. The boss stormtrooper. Finn surprises his old boss. She beats him pretty easily in the fight scene near the end of the movie. Throws him down a pit, but, you know, actually, it wasn't a pit, it was an elevator, and the elevator is moving up, and then Finn gets the drop on Phasma and beats her. That's a small one, but still, you know, it's a surprise. It's a surprise in the sense that it's kind of like a cheap trick, but it works, and, like, we like Finn, and we don't like Phasma, so it's a good cheap trick for us. Okay, so there's all these examples of, like, expectations being twisted around or deflated or whatever. So what does it mean? Well, there's two lines that I want to draw your attention to. One is when it's raining and Rey is fighting Luke, and she's like, I'm going to go get Kylo, and I'm going to turn him good since you're not going to save everything for us. And Luke says, this is not going to go the way you think. Well, that's right. The whole movie doesn't go the way we think. It doesn't go the way that the characters think it will go, since you're not meant to be able to track someone through light speed. But that's like typical plot structure, right? Like people have to be surprised. But like in terms of the audience watching the movie, like nothing goes the way that you think. Everyone's like, Luke is going to take that lightsaber and he's going to save the damn day because that's what the action figure does. Nope. It's not going to go that way. And like Finn and Rose, they're going to go to Las Vegas Planet and they're going to get this code breaker and they're going to come back and there's going to be fighting and stuff. And like, you know, they get a code breaker, but it doesn't go the way you think it's going to go. And like this Emperor Snoke, he's so powerful and like he's going after Luke and there's going to be a major battle in the third movie and it's going to be all this and that. And like, nope, it's not going to go the way that you think. Importantly, like the movie is not just messing with us. It's not just like setting up, you know, a Star Wars story just to knock it down. This is the reason I love The Last Jedi so much. The movie confounds all of these expectations and everything works like a Star Wars movie in the end. And that leads me to the second thematic quote, this one by Leia, this right near the end of the movie. Someone says, you know, how can we do anything? This is all we have left. Like the whole resistance fits in the Millennium Falcon. And Leia says, we have all that we need right here. Boom. Boom. Okay, that's like, I need a breath. Well, that's a very leaderly line. Why is it important? What does it mean? Any leader can say that. It could be empty words, but no, this film backs it up on every level. Plot-wise, we have all that we need right here. Yeah, she's a leader. She has to give the resistance hope, and those are her words. But in terms of the story of The Last Jedi just knocked everything down. Luke Skywalker did not save the day. He wasn't a bad guy. He did fight heroically, but he didn't defeat anybody. He was a distraction. The Emperor is dead. The supreme leader, Snoke, I guess. He wasn't an emperor. He was supposed to be bigger than that. He was the most powerful Force user in the galaxy. You know, Kylo Ren tried to step up on him, and Snoke was and knocked him away with lightning, and he was knocking Rey all over the place and this and that, and it didn't matter. The movie was this Snoke, he's not really important. People say they care about him, they don't really care about him. They care how powerful he is, but nobody cares about his character because there's nothing to know about his character. He's a bad guy. There's nothing good in him. He's one-dimensional. Even small things with Kylo Ren, crushing his helmet, right? You don't need a bad guy with a mask. You don't need a super mysterious bad guy with a super mysterious backstory. With Rey's parents, you don't need, the most powerful Jedi in the universe to have important parents. We have all we need right here. with the characters that you know and love, or love to hate. All you need is a script. You don't need tomes of backstory. You have all you need right in the movie. And it is a great movie, even though the movie came down firmly on the side of not needing the expanded universe in order to be a legitimate and entertaining and a superlative, is that the right way to use that word? Star Wars story. We have all we need right here. God, like, I would have spent days trying to craft this into a good essay and overlay video and stuff if I did this on YouTube. Moving on. One more major theme that I've seen people talk about a lot, and that's Yoda's line, "The greatest teacher failure is." This idea that failure is the great teacher. I think this is easy to see in terms of the Luke Skywalker plot. Luke, had a moment of what did he say? Instinctual. He had a moment of bad instinct where he thought, like, I got to kill Kylo Ren. I got to kill Ben Solo before the dark side takes him and he turns into something terrible. And then Ben Solo saw Luke's moment of weakness, misinterpreted it, Rashomon style, we'll get there in a second, and turned bad. And so Luke's failure created Kylo Ren, and Luke cut himself off from the Force in order to never make such a terrible mistake again. It's easy to see how failure can tie into that plot, but it ties into so many other ways too, and it's really cool. I'm just going to mention a few. One, it calls back to Yoda's failure. Yoda, during The Empire Strikes Back, tells Luke, your training's not done, don't go and save your friends, it's not worth it. And Luke disobeys, and he goes and saves his friends. And then it was Luke's failure to try to dissuade Rey. He's not wrong. It doesn't end the way that you think it's going to end, as he said, but it was good that Rey left, because if Rey hadn't left, then Luke wouldn't have gone to save his sister and what remained of the Resistance. Rey wouldn't have been there with Chewie to save the Resistance that had been snuffed out. There is failure in the Las Vegas planet story. Like, if you think about it, Finn and Rose had to go find a code breaker, and they were right there. They found him, and they got tased and sent to prison. Why did they get tased and sent to prison? Because they parked in a no parking zone. That is tragic. If they hadn't parked in the wrong spot, hundreds of Resistance people would still be alive. They would have been able to find the right code breaker. They would have been able to get back sooner. All those ships wouldn't have been blown up. But because they made a mistake, they effed up. They found a less reputable guy in Benicio del Toro, who I thought was Andy Serkis. And shows how much I know about actors. This movie is like an echo chamber of things that it was trying to say, and everything was just wonderful. Now, for me, the most interesting failure was Emperor or Supreme Leader Snoke's failure of imagination, because his failure of imagination reflects the failure of everybody who left The Last Jedi surprised. Now, whether you were happily surprised or disappointedly surprised, that is all of us. Emperor Snoke had a worldview where an emperor, class, evil, old, ugly, lightning-wielding guy, he had a worldview where that role was necessary because, that was the way of things. That was the natural order. Snoke was oozing with Star Wars lore. He knew everything. He got Rey not because he considered Rey a threat, even though he knew that she was really strong with the Force, but because he considered Luke Skywalker, a king on the chessboard, and he had to get him because, Luke Skywalker was a legend, and therefore he was valuable. And Rey, who was super strong in the Force, he was just playing around with her, and he could have killed her any moment, but he was like, Kylo, you do her. This is how it's supposed to go down. This is the way things work. You got me? Kylo Ren, my apprentice. I, the Emperor, with evil voice and nasty face. I'm going to get Luke Skywalker because that's how the world works. There's one supreme Jedi at the top of the pyramid, and I'm the supreme leader, and it's my job to go get him. And Kylo Ren is like, nope, like that was a supreme failure of imagination on Snoke's part, and it was wonderful to watch. Yep, just put it in that theme pile because it clicks. It clicks like that, like that, like that. Star Wars is like, you think this is what Star Wars is about, but no. If we take all of this away, if we start like a Jenga puzzle, if we start removing blocks, you'll see that the thing keeping Star Wars up was none of these things. It was the characters. It was not the lore. It wasn't the history. It was the characters the whole time. Gah, I love it. One more thing about Snoke, the way that they killed him. With no ceremony, with no with no climax. It was the middle of a bigger scene. Snoke thought he knew Star Wars, and Star Wars was like, man, you aren't even important enough to give a climax to. Like, no silent cut, no end of the movie, no end of the trilogy. You are so much less important to this story than Kylo Ren and Rey that you are just done in the middle of a scene. Loved it. Your body is on the floor. Your face is like flopped like against the thing. Amazing. The best. Mwah. Okay, next I just want to talk about style a little bit. Watching this movie was like reading the back of a wine bottle. Like, there are scents and flavors in this movie that I know I have smelled and flavored before, except they came up at me and I was like, oh geez, that's from, and wow, golly, that's from, and this and that. There was so much Kurosawa in this movie. And like, yeah, Star Wars is meant to be based on some Kurosawa movies in general. Ones that I haven't watched yet. I can't name specific references, but like the salt plains at the end of the movie, that obviously harkened back to The Empire Strikes Back, except I think there was also like some white and red film stuff going on in a Kurosawa movie that was pretty famous. I don't know. Snoke's throne room, with the way that it was set up, it reminded me of something, and it was cool to look at. The whole Rashomon way of telling the story of Luke and Ben Solo, like, you know, Luke told his story, and then Kylo told his story, and then we found sort of the middle ground, what actually happened. You know, they could have written that in a million different ways, but they chose to do it like this Rashomon style way. It was just good. It was just a paintbrush that they used to tell a bit of the story that made your ears prick up, because like the way that brush was used in a super famous movie, and they did that in so many different scenes. My favorite was the Dragon Ball scene, the Toriyama Akira influence, when Luke Skywalker walks out onto the salt plains with all them walker bots, and Kylo Ren is like, shoot her! And they blast him a kerjillion times, and he just walks out of the smoke, and he's like, yeah, I know, he's not really there, but we didn't know that whenever it was happening. Except we knew exactly what was going to happen, because there were so many episodes of Dragon Ball that I grew up watching where, like, yeah, like some super strong dude like blasting the bad guy. Bad guy just walks out of the cloud of smoke, and he's like, we're like, God, I love that they made that canonical in a Star Wars movie. That scene, oh God, I would send it as a Valentine's Day gift if I could, to my younger self. This nerdy thing that you're watching right now, Jason, you know, of 16, 17 years old, this thing has value. It is going to be employed in a $500 million budget to make like a climactic scene that much cooler. God, that was a great scene. I guess that's it. There's one more thing I wanted to mention. It doesn't have to do with theme. It doesn't have to do with style. But Kylo Ren and Rey's chemistry on screen is amazing, and they have a bunch of scenes together, but the one I particularly liked was after the fight scene in Snoke's throne room with the Praetorian Guard. Is that their name? The red guys? You know, this is a super important defining moment for Kylo Ren's character. Rey is like okay, we're done here. Let's go help the Resistance. And Kylo is looking at the throne, and he's seeing the power vacuum. Kylo has no reason not to go help the Resistance. He has no vested interest in the First Order. He doesn't have any goal with them, right? Before, it was to serve Emperor Snoke, but he betrayed Snoke, for what reason, right? Right? At that point in the movie, we're thinking maybe the reason was to save Rey. But Kylo, no, it wasn't to save Rey. Kylo says, burn it all down. He's echoing the theme of the movie. You don't need any of this, but in a dark side way. He's burn it all down. We can start over. But that's selfish, right? It's a selfish decision because people are dying, and he has an opportunity, now that he's Kylo Unchained, to go help them, and he has the power to do so. But he doesn't want to. He never wanted to. He was struggling. Maybe he was struggling honestly, but he made a decision when he killed Snoke that nope, he wants the power. He wants the admiration. He wants the power. He wants to rule. And Rey knows this is bullshit. Kylo knows it's bullshit too. That he's just being selfish and grabbing power because he can. He can't back up the reasoning, so he's just burn it all down, as if that's a reason. And Rey is don't do this. Don't do this. And I fucking love that. I love that. Both of them are talking about the same thing, and Kylo is trying to push on her this story that both of them know is just made up. The fact that, Kylo created a power vacuum, and they should sacrifice the Resistance to make the universe a better place because the Resistance is part of this structure that is useless and old. But that's a non sequitur. The Resistance are, they're being slaughtered. They're just fighting for their way of life. And both of them know it. Rey's don't do this, don't do this. And Kylo's join me. And then he's please. There's no romantic chemistry between Kylo and Rey in this movie, I think intentionally. But he was doing his Kylo best to emotionally manipulate her, and she was just so much stronger and smarter and clear-minded than him that it wasn't even a contest, and he was too weak to even know it. He shouldn't have even tried. He should have known Rey better. But he's just too damn weak. He's one of the strongest people in the galaxy, but emotionally he is a wreck. And in that scene when he decided no, I'm the man, I deserve this. I deserve all of this, and I'm going to kill the supreme leader, and I'm going to take this girl, and we are going to rule the universe. The Force united. And Rey is there are people dying over here. Help me. And he's you know what? And she's shut up. Are you seriously not going to help me out? And he's but you don't understand. And oh my God, it was perfect. It was a perfect scene. Weak boyfriend trying to manipulate somebody who he thinks he's stronger than, but he is not stronger than her. And seeing that play out on screen was again, okay. I think that's all I have to say about The Last Jedi. I wish I could have said it more succinctly. I wish I could have done a bunch of video overlays to illustrate the points I was trying to make, and I wish I didn't keep you here for a half an hour. So if you watched this whole thing, thank you. If not, I totally understand. And please let me know what you thought in the comments or on Facebook or on Twitter. And if you didn't like the movie, I hope this helped. Or if you weren't crazy about the movie, I hope this review helped you understand it in a slightly more positive way. You don't have to like the movie, but I think it's super rewarding if you do. Okay, that's all. Jason, signing off.